Hi everyone, Anthony Breathe Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Tkay Maidza project, Sweet Justice. This is a brand new LP from Zimbabwe-born Australian singer, rapper, songwriter Tkay Maidza, her second full-length coming 7 years after her last, I believe, which was a while ago, obviously, but after the sudden rush of success she saw off this record on the Australian scene, Tkay slowed her output a bit and reset things with an EP series she began in 2018. Last year was weird. She used these projects as an opportunity to put out some strong singles, road test some new sounds, really just reinvent herself a bit. She certainly expanded her audience in the process, as these records led to some of her biggest tracks to date. The second volume was actually my EP of the year in 2020, and the third one, while not my favorite, it was cool to hear her throw down on some smoother, more pop-friendly cuts, which I sort of wondered if stylistically and aesthetically was that going to be the way forward for Tkay from here on out. And yeah, with Sweet Justice, it feels like she's more or less doubled down on the sounds and vibes from Volume 3. Really, this thing is a culmination of a lot of the sounds that she explored across that Last Year Was Weird series, some of the industrial hip-hop stuff, the pop rap, the neo-soul, the hip house. For anyone who's been paying attention, you can really hear how those EPs laid the groundwork for what we are hearing now. That much is clear, and maybe it's painfully clear, because now with this new LP, I feel like Tkay has left us absolutely no surprises as to what she's going to do. Not to mention she built up to this album cycle with so many strong bops and anthems. Awake, Kim, Syrup, Kashmir, 24K, You Sad. So I feel like she's given herself a tall order to fill on Sweet Justice in terms of upping the ante, or making it seem like she was working up to a bigger presentation here. Because while Sweet Justice is longer, it doesn't necessarily feel like we're getting more than we did on Last Year Was Weird Volumes 2 or 3. Even from the start, it doesn't feel like Tkay and her close, consistent collaborator, producer Dan Farber have their sights set very high, because the opener, Love and Other Drugs, is a pretty sleepy and long-winded start to your first full length in over 5 years. And it's not hideous to the ear or anything like that. It's pretty, it's psychedelic, it's alluring, but maybe more fitting as a midpoint song on the record to kind of interlude us from one memorable track to another. And don't get me wrong, there are memorable songs in the midst of this project. It's just that the majority of them came out as singles before the record was released, like with WUACV, or Woke Up and Chose Violence, where Tkay proved she still has a knack for taking popular bits of lingo or turns of phrase and turning them into legitimate anthems and bops in a way that doesn't sound corny or desperate for attention, as it does when a lot of other artists tend to do it. There's also a freaky, spacious trap instrumental attached to this one that reminds me of something off of an A$AP Rocky project. Some of Tkay's flows actually remind me of his stuff too. The track is still a highlight though, even if it doesn't show her really branching out of her comfort zone. There was also Silent Assassin with Flume, which has an absolutely grimy beat with these thick, buzzing bass lines that sound like a whale-sized bumblebee. There are some fried bleeps and bloops on the track as well. And I love the way Tkay's doubled up vocals like pop over the instrumental on the track. They're subtly glitched out too. She sounds like Missy Elliott if she were a computer virus. Meanwhile, Ring-A-Ling was another great single and exotic bop of sorts that brings together touches of trap and grime and dancehall and Afro beats in such a way where it's hard to tell where one of these genres start, where another ends. The song at the core of the track is focused though, and that's all that matters. Plus, Tkay really nails it during that eerie, distant vocal harmony section on the back end during the bridge. 1-1 is a great 90s R&B throwback with a modern punch, and Out of Luck has some very smooth and glamorous dance pop and house leanings. The extra vocal contributions from Lolo Zouai and Amber Mark add a lot, and even if some of the singing is a bit too glossed out, the grooves are irresistible, and I could see like the Kaytranada fans going crazy for this one. So from this record, there were a lot of singles, a lot of replay value, a lot of bases covered, but most of this record's strongest moments just got spoiled in the lead up, honestly. The track What You Know has grooves galore, but not much bite melodically or vocally, and along with the song Ghost, this is one of a few tracks off this record that just kind of feels like dressing room fodder. With Love Again, you do have a strong melody and some haunting arpeggios too, but the booming beats and spacey production feel like they're building toward a big, gratifying payoff that doesn't ever really come. Meanwhile, on Free Throws, which does have some crazy production, yeah, the beat kind of carries and just feels more memorable than the song or flows themselves. And in fact, the only track on the back end of this LP that I thought was all that memorable was Gone to the West, which honestly, the reason this track stuck out to me is because it samples pretty much the same horn sections that old school music fans might remember from Skilo's I Wish. I wish I was a little bit taller, wish I was a baller. And the closer, like the opener, clearly doesn't feel any pressure to go above or beyond and leave the audience with a strong impression, which is a shame because the bright synth chords that kick the whole track off are pretty good, but the basic beats and very loose filtered bass lines to follow just don't really do much for me instrumentally. I mean, that bass is so loud and out of pocket, it kind of throws the entire track off. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like this record didn't really kind of live up to my expectations. And sadly, I feel like all the EPs TK put out up until this point were better, more consistent, more solid. In fact, I feel like all we got here on Sweet Justice is really Last Year Was Weird Volume 4, but with some extra forgettable tracks we didn't necessarily need. I mean, yeah, if you take all the singles off this thing and then combine those with the 2 or 3 best deep cuts of the record, the song WASP being one of them, those staggered synth lines around the chorus on the track are killer and super jazzy too. But put all that together and lob off the weaker cuts and you essentially have Last Year Was Weird Volume 4, which if that's all this was going to be, I wish TK just handed us that. Feeling a decent 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Tkay Maidza, forever.